Get Ready With Me, and I'm sure you clicked on it because of the subject matter. It's gonna be good. I used to work in the music industry, so I have a bunch of insight on this. But to start off, my Get Ready With Me's are discussion a key. They're always all over the place. They're always a little bit messy. So this is just like a conversation. It's not like a well-produced video. And my Get Ready With Me's are always sponsored by a hair company, but this time a bitch is sponsoring herself, okay? Well, I don't even know which wig I want to put on my head first. I got so many wigs, girl. So many. Let me just plop a wig on real quick while I talk about my hairline. So I am reopening KS Hair Only. It is my hair store where I do pre-sale, and by pre-sale it means we open the store for usually a week to a week and a half. We collect sales, close the store down, and then we ship out all the orders. Aiming for this to be the last sale I do altogether because, girl, it's work. It's work. But KS Hair stands for Kinky Straight Hair Only. So what we focus on is kinky straight hair, which you have here in 26, 28 inch length with a 7x7 closure. I literally just plopped this on my head. This is the closure wigs. They're huge, 7x7, girl. Only size closure we sell goes from temple to temples. Closures, so we only sell 7x7 closures and 13x6 frontals in Swiss HD, which is the thinnest lace. It is extremely hard to get in the sizes we have. The big key of the store is that we offer custom wigs. This is the wig everyone's been asking about. I'm going to apply. We offer several colorways, and Alicia Custom makes all the wigs. They are sewing machine made, and you can get custom color and stylings. But if you order a styled wig, it means out the box, it's styled pin curl. You take the pin curls out, shake it out a little bit, it's ready to go. If you have ordered before and gotten a custom styled wig, please comment down below and let the folks know. And the last thing is we have added another texture to the store, which is the summer wave, because people were asking about another texture. I don't know if this is a really good example of it because, girl, okay, this is a 7x7 closure. And I started making this wig before I cut all my hair off, so it is way too big for my head, and I can't just get it to sit on my head and look right. 14-inch closure in a 12 and 14-inch bundle, sewn on in reverse, so 12 on bottom, 14 on top. Hair, the store will be open through, I believe the date is November 25th, but I will for sure have all the details about when the store will be open to. So we are keeping in mind it's a holiday season. We want to get these wigs out to as many people as possible before Christmas, but the earlier you order, the better. So this is my Swiss HD frontal. This is my white woman wigs y'all be asking about. So we're going to get into applying this. Was that a long enough intro, girl? And talking about Summer Walker. And if you have any more questions, always comment down below, or you can follow up on Instagram, which is where I do the most of promoting for KS Hair. And we also have a KS Hair Instagram page where I will post all the examples of the wigs we sell. This wig in particular, I have had for over a year. You've seen it a lot because I've worn the shit out of this, all right? We are losing some of the hair around the front. It's getting pushed back a little bit, but it's okay. We're gonna hit this with the Got To Be glue right quick. This is all I do. I'm finna do this whole video and then go take my behind to the gym because we got to lose this gut. Branding, bitch. All right, so let's get into talking about Summer Walker while I look crazy. Summer Walker has actually been in the news a good bit because she's just quirky, and I actually really enjoy her. I both like her music. I like her vibe. I mean, she's very much so an Aries, and she's just a young girl getting through the world with her quirkiness. And a few times I've seen her tip over like into everyone discussing her, largely from places of misunderstanding. But the latest thing is a fan who bought a meet and greet VIP ticket to one of her shows. Basically one of those gossip Instagram pages screenshotted the fan's Instagram caption about her disappointment in how the meet and greet went at Summer Walker's show, and then that post is what went viral. Just to give some background about where my opinions on this subject matter are gonna come from. I used to work in the music industry. You know, the 8 years I spent in New York, I both managed an artist who ended up signing with Todd Moskowitz imprint at Atlantic. I wasn't in on that because I didn't agree with how that process went, but that nigga fucked up his life doing that, so here's that on that. I worked at UMPG with Ethiopia, which is a publishing, Universal Music Publishing Group. I was at Good Music, which is Kanye's label, when it was at Sony. I was at BMI with Wardell for a little bit, and where else was I? One of my closest friends is a tour manager. I happen to have another friend who used to tour as a musician, friends who are booking agents. I've experienced this whole world, and so we're just gonna get to my thoughts. Okay. So Summer Walker's fan was disappointed about how the meet and greet went because according to her, she bought a VIP ticket and the meet and greet was supposed to be before the show, and at the last minute they were informed that it would be after the show, and then she like didn't really speak to them, and in the picture like Summer does not look interested. Like, sis looks smug as hell. And so this huge debate comes about because Summer has also been pretty open about her own issues with social anxiety and anxiety at large, right? And so this huge conversation opened up about how we need to be more understanding of mental health. Like, how do we talk about having more understanding of mental health, and how particularly the Black community needs to have safer spaces to discuss it. And then we're coming at an artist like Summer, who has openly talked about her mental health and explained that a lot of her awkwardness and seemingly uninterestedness and, you know, we would call like aloof or ambivalence about being in certain settings really is because of her social anxiety. For me, the thing is that like both things can be true, right? I think both things can be true, that a fan is very validated in being upset at their interaction with Summer, and also that we need to be more considerate of how we discuss someone and give her grace, someone like Summer Walker. But the entire time I'm looking at this thing from like the NPR Tiny Desk thing, which I entirely understand the awkwardness that Summer exhibits in that, because Tiny Desk is literally shot behind a desk in a really small room. And so whereas when you're on stage and because of the blinding lights you really can't see the audience, Tiny Desk you can see everyone, and it is going to be a largely white audience on top of it. So I keep watching this stuff with Summer and I'm thinking, who is her team? Like, who is her manager? Because it feels to me like she's not really getting briefed about the rooms she's walking into. And it also feels like maybe whoever her handlers are don't really understand the nuances of, one, working with a woman R&B artist, which comes with its own sort of, like, it's not an easy road to get in. It's really hard for women artists in the music industry. Okay, I'm trying to just bump this and not do a hard curl, but girl, like in this whole scenario, I don't really fault Summer. She is an apathetic celebrity. And I think the entire time, her entire rise thus far to becoming famous has been she's been continually apathetic about the experience. As in, she oftentimes seems like she doesn't really want to be doing the interview or the performance. She has herself just kind of talked about the various things about celebrity that she does not enjoy. But her music hits. It's a bop. We love it. And she speaks to a certain audience that wants to have intimate access to her. Now, I went and looked up her team because I was like, there is absolutely a way to brand Summer Walker in a way that gives grace and space and boundaries and, you know, safety for whatever it is mentally she's processing, whether it is being an empath, having social anxiety, which by the way, a ton of YouTubers have, and for her to still be a poppin' artist. But it takes strategy, and I think what my presumption was when I went looking for her team was that it likely was a very male young team, and I wasn't wrong. She signed to Love Renaissance LVRN, which has a distribution deal with Interscope, and this is anecdotal as how I can't assert this as fact, but I've always felt that Interscope in particular was very male dominated. I mean, the music industry at large, girl, is male dominated, right? The Me Too movement can't even really hit oh girl, if the Me Too movement ever came for the urban music scene, everyone, man and woman, would be getting knocked down. Because not only is it male dominated, but a lot of the women that are visible, with like a few exceptions, and a few exceptions are just women who have been in the industry for 20, 30 years, girl. But a lot of the young women who get prominence due to their proximity to men. Sometimes that proximity comes through relationships and sexual favors. And I'm not saying that of all women in the industry, but there is just this thing, and what I'm really saying, because I'm not trying to shame other women, what I really am saying is that like the Me Too movement can't hit the urban music scene because it really is an example of how patriarchy has no gender, because a lot of women in this scene have upheld the sort of patriarchy that maligns especially Black women. I got stories for days. But to get back to the Interscope thing, anecdotally, I think Interscope is always read to me as very male dominated. Like most of the women that I know, especially women that I know having executive positions, are like at Atlantic, Epic, and Universal, by way that Universal just has a lot of labels underneath it, like Republic and Motown. But the label that Summer is signed to was founded by 4 young black men who were students at Georgia State University. Georgia State, am I saying that right? I want to say Tech. Georgia, were they Georgia State or Georgia Tech? One of them schools. Girl, they was in college and they started this label, and then she is on label mates with Santee Dram, D-R-A-M, who I actually know somebody on his team from my days at Universal. Boogie Black, spelled 6 Black, but Summer is their biggest artist. And honestly though, I've been to quite a few of them. I love Santee's music. I like most of the artists on that label's music, and I've been to a few of their live performances, and I will say across the board, something's not being handled correctly on the tour side. And you know, now most labels are signing some form of 360 deal where they get access to, you know, the touring, the licensing, the publishing, like all that. And so I do feel like maybe back in the day you couldn't blame your label so much for how your tour went exactly, because you should have your own team around the tour. But nowadays the label, because they profit from that directly, like, yeah, they should they should be doing more. And not to say that there aren't any women on her team, I'm sure, but it does seem like her team is all kind of consistently new to what it means to have, one, you have a label that's run by young men, and then most of their artists are young men, and then most of their management teams and teams that these young men are going to bring in themselves are going to also be young men. And then your biggest artist ends up being, you know, a very aloof R&B singer and woman. And it's like, I remember the person who works down with Dram, I remember trying to get him to work with Kaya Victoria, who I used to feature in all my videos, and him telling me about, you know, it's just really expensive to have a woman artist. There's all these other things that come in with like the hair, the makeup, the styling. They can't do like this low budget touring the same way the guys do. And also, let's get into the touring thing, because that's where the issue is coming down for. There's all these semantics that add nuance to the experience that particularly black women will have coming into celebrity as music artists. It's so many ways for me to, you know, tackle this conversation. Let's stick to the music industry thing before we get to even the mental health part of this, right? What it sounds like to me is touring is always known as a way for artists to make money. And especially for new artists, they don't always make money on ticket sales. Now, Summer Walker, with her, because she has a black woman young audience, she will do really well touring, which is why, even though she has never been a person who likes to do live performances, why she was put on tour, because black women spend coins. I'm positive no one really sat down with her and had a thorough conversation about what touring meant and what came with touring. What likely happened is someone showed her the contract and just ran down the number, because a lot of tours make money on the merch table. And so therefore, artists now sell VIP packs that upsell the merchandise, which is where most artists will make a bulk of their money. Because touring and doing sound, I did a little Black Hair Kitchen event back in 2013 in DC during Delta Centennial, and the most money I spent on that show was because, again, I had Kaya Victoria come sing, and we had to get a sound system in there, and then they have sound engineers so she could sing 3 or 4 songs, and I promise you that bill was like $15K. For 15 minutes, all right? Sound design is expensive, the sound engineer, and so when you do a show, it is like you have your tour manager, you have the playback, your band, and I think she actually has like a full band. I think she has bass, guitar, keys, drum, and then backup singers. If you have a lighting design, you know, light person, set design sometimes, depending on what your setup is. Then, you know, the little person running off and on the stage, bringing you water, switching out instruments for different people, towels and all that stuff. That's the person that usually tours with you. And then y'all all get put on a tour bus. Have you ever been on a tour bus? I know previously that Summer got slandered for talking about how she takes a little bird bath in a bucket, but I think a lot of people missed the preface that she was doing this because she's touring and she's going from a tour bus to a hotel, and she's in all these different bathrooms she's not familiar with. And I am a person who until my, this is TMI, but until my late 20s, I had never dropped a deuce in a public bathroom in my life. Performance anxiety is a real thing for a lot of folks, and especially if taking a shower is like, I mean, isn't bathing sacred for a lot of Black folks? Like, isn't it just something that relaxes us? Am I reaching? Something that is like an intimate moment in order for you to like gather yourself, to calm yourself, to relax, to meditate, whatever. That, so, you know, people have a very specific way of how they like to bathe. And bathing on a tour bus is not fun. And she's found a way to, you know, keep it to where she could have some level of like the intimacy that she wants to have while she bathes in spaces that are unfamiliar to her. But all them niggas is on a tour bus. You going from hotel to tour bus. Oh, and then she got hair and makeup. That's why people will be like, oh, you know, male rappers are easier because you can just stick a bunch of niggas on a bus with some Hennessy and some weed and they be aight. But for like a woman artist, you know, just this a lot more that goes into it, because there's also an image that has to be upheld. And there's a lot of pieces that go to it, and therefore it's very costly. And so the way that you know, turn a profit on something that's costing all this money, and you know, Summer has talked about getting the lace fronts and the wigs and how much those cost for someone of her caliber, and how, you know, little time they last. Recoup a lot of those costs through the merch table. And so when I'm saying all this to say, it feels like somebody on her team probably sat down with her, ran past the numbers and said, look, all you gotta do is a meet and greet, and this is how much money you make off of a meet and greet. We can sell the tickets at this price. It's literally you taking a picture with fans and keeping it moving and signing an autograph, and this is how much money you can make. And they're doing what they know to do from other artists. They're not really thinking innovatively about how do you take someone who is an empath, who has social anxiety, and still profit off of them as an artist without doing the traditional things that we do for every other artist. Because I'm just looking at this shit like, she could have just sold a merch pack, or she could have sold like a on Beyonce's tours. I don't even know, does Beyonce sell a meet and greet on her tour anymore? I think it literally might be like like the pit you can sit in and then getting like autographed material and merch, right? And so I think a lot of her VIP tickets are just a way to upsell again on the merch table, because that's where you make most of your money at. I was trying to, you know, hit it with that. I think maybe, we don't really know what we're doing here, girl. We just curling some shit. Last year at 2018 YouTube Black, Ari Lennox performed, and she was at the after party. And I actually went up to her at the after party to tell her how good her performance was. And you know, I liked her music. It was before her album came out. And she was like, oh my gosh, I used to watch you on YouTube. I watched your hair tutorials. And I'm looking at her like, girl, you sure? Because we got 2 different hair textures. You sure it was me? And she's like, yeah, you know, she's just like, yeah, type thing. I was like, I don't know if she's serious or not, but whatever. And then she's like, yo, let's exchange numbers. So for a little bit, I had Ari's number, right? And I was texting her. And I got a new phone, so I don't even have the text message on my phone, but if I can find it, I will. But for the brief period that I was texting Ari, I had told her, I remember telling her, you know, it is really hard as a Black woman R&B singer to make it in this. I mean, it's not hard to make it so much. I was like, but you're gonna have different issues than the rest of the rappers on your label. And so I would highly recommend that before your album comes out and before you end up going on tour and going through the hectic lifestyle that brings with it, that you find a therapist you like while you chilling in the apartment looking up at the ceiling, you know, and in the studio. I would highly suggest that you go through the process of finding a therapist that you like. And I think when I initially said it, she was just kind of like, well, what are you implying? And I'm like, tour, like you're gonna put your album out, you're gonna have to go on tour, and it is just such an overwhelming life to go from the regular person that could be in the hood, that could walk down the street and no one knows who you are, to all of a sudden having all this love and adoration. Then the negative comments that come with that, I mean, it's not even that the negativity is overwhelming, it is that the visibility in general is overwhelming, and the different ways that your relationships will change within that is overwhelming. And that tour life in itself is oftentimes very lonely for the artist, especially for the women, because again, a lot of your people on your team are going to end up being men, and it's going to be like 2 or 3 girls it is rough. It's a rough lifestyle. So I'm just saying, as a way to take care of yourself, that you should consider finding a therapist before it gets too hectic, and then like you're trying to find a therapist when your schedule is on 2000. I don't know if that was really received, but I remember explicitly telling sis that, because I'm just like, yo, I had a homeboy, oh man, so me and Kid Cudi, right? They used to be my nigga when I lived in New York. He was working in American Apparel in the, stock room, right? Doing inventory. And we were both just, you know, scamming our way through living in New York. And I remember when Day and Night came out, because this nigga was living on the 2 train and spending night at Dot's house. And like, we were having this whole conversation about like, I was telling him, yo, I can't make that kind of sacrifice where I don't have a roof over my head because I'm a woman. Like, I can't roll up nowhere smelling slightly funky. Like, what do you do when you got your period? Like, that sleeping on the train shit is like mad wild, like violence, and like, no, that's like, I could never put myself in that position. So there's a certain expectation as a woman and the way the industry responds. And I was on my way out of the industry because I was just having a really hard time with like, you do all this sacrifice and all this work, and like, you still gonna be doing jobs that don't really pay nothing, and you ducking and dodging, niggas constantly approaching you on some like sexual shit. Like, the way I used to get talked to, man, I got stories for days about all these niggas in the industry. All these niggas. Been to the strip club with Coach K. Like, girl, I ain't got nothing negative about him, but yo, I'm telling you, like I have a past life and I got mad stories to tell. But watching this nigga become famous, and you know, he hanging out with Joey IE and Emil and all them, and they the niggas that signed him, and I was still kind of in touch with him when Man on the Moon came out. But right after that album, something happened and this nigga cut everybody off. Like, everybody off. And I feel like everyone kind of on some wavelength goes through this shit where they get burned by someone and they can't believe the ways in which people will change because of their fame, and the sort of demons that come with accumulating all this access and wealth that most of your community does not have access to, and the ways in which, you know, your own family will respond to that, your own like close peers. And he legit just cut everybody off. You know, he's talked about his own kind of journey through mental health issues and just how prevalent it is. You know, I worked at Good Music right before Donda West passed away, and again, you know, just watching, you know, you're talking about men who kind of benefit from like the misogyny and patriarchy that exists in the music industry, still struggling through it. It's just, I think a lot of what we don't even talk about is how hard it is for women in the music industry and the various things that they're facing. What I'm thinking when it comes to Summer is she just needs a team she needs to get a mature woman on her team. And she just needs someone who can sit down and strategize with her about what kind of artist she wants to be and how they can create that brand, and also be mindful of, you know, her own. She's young. The girl's like 22, 23. And so I think people trying to slander her for like being on Instagram and Googling different things about mental health, and you know, a lot of us don't have the language to discuss our mental health. So I don't feel like we should ever shame people for seeking out that information. Yes, bitch, Google that shit, all right? But keep reading. Don't, you know, yeah, you don't read one thing and they go, oh, this is the ultimate fact. But I would never fault someone for their desire to have knowledge about themselves. She writes her own music, so she can definitely have a career. She doesn't necessarily have the white fan base that like Solange does, where she can get away with doing like these super intimate museum tours. But there's definitely a way to still exploit in a positive way, exploit her talent, and setting up the sort of comforts and surroundings that she needs in order to maintain, you know, her sense of self. There's licensing. If we could have these elusive artists like a James Blake, if we could have niggas that have wrapped their entire careers in masks and hidden themselves and nobody knows who these niggas really are, there's ways for a Summer Walker to work around her social anxiety and her being an empath to make the career that she wants to have and where she can live comfortably off of her talent. The problem is other people are in on exploiting her talents, and they're just doing what they've seen everyone else do, and I don't think there's enough strategy around Summer Walker, the celebrity. So on the social anxiety part, a lot of YouTubers have social anxiety, and I do think it's wrong to criticize Summer and say, oh, she's twerking on Instagram, or she's doing whatever kooky thing she might do on Instagram, but she looked hella uncomfortable doing a show. Being in front of people is completely different from sitting in front of your phone or your camera and having a conversation. And I've always said the reason why I even get the opportunity that I get on YouTube, considering that I don't have a very engaged audience on here, is because I'm a YouTuber who can like speak in front of the camera and speak in front of an audience. A lot of YouTubers have social anxiety because it is one thing to sit in front of your camera, to sit in a room, and a lot of us have second bedrooms and little offices and entire studio spaces that we have curated to make us comfortable while recording. And it is a completely different ball game when you get in front of an audience of people who expect to have access to your energy. Societally, a lot of us are coming into a very I want to say nascent understanding of mental health. I do think there's truth in having conversation about the ways in which we hide behind the language that we are picking up around mental health, but I don't necessarily think there's a point in that conversation turning towards shaming people, right? Because we all, you have to remember, everyone has different points of access to knowledge. Someone who's 22, 23, this is their first time experiencing certain things, what it means to be put in situations where you can't control the energy of the people that approach you. Most of us live in very small worlds. Most of us live in spheres of influence that we can curate, and we can ensure that a person we don't like or we don't want to see, we don't have to ever deal with. For an artist like Summer Walker, if a person comes with bad energy, and yeah, people who don't like you will go out of their way to get access to you. Niggas be bored. It's a mindfuck to try to figure out whether your ardent fans are really people who have your best interest, or people who like the idea that they have of you, who are people that have such a specific idea of you that they will provoke scenarios to ensure that they can keep that image of you in their mind. That shit is a huge mindfuck. If Summer Walker and Empath sis don't need to be doing no meet and greets, I think they can definitely work on creating some sort of setup where she can do selective live performances and where she can do it in a way in which she's comfortable and she enjoys it. I wasn't really offended by the NPR Tiny Desk because I thought she still sang beautifully, even if she was just kind of like, girl, I don't want to be here, but I want to be here, but my anxiety is saying that, showing me as if I don't want to be here. I don't know if I would pay to go to an actual show of hers until she gets it together. I went to Jadena's show the other week. I'm not a huge fan of Jadena. Like, I like Jadena. I have listened to 85 to Africa maybe once or twice. I can't really sing, I don't know the words to any of the songs, but that was a bomb ass show. All right, I don't expect Summer Walker at all to do anything close to what Jadena has done, but what I want to point out is I think his show was strategically good, is what I really enjoyed about it. In that Jadena's problem is that he doesn't necessarily sell out his tour. He doesn't have a small audience, but he's not like, I think I could firmly say that Summer Walker might pull a bigger audience than a Jadena, but that he set up his shows so that they benefit the brand that he's curating, right? So it's not built so much on Jadena saying, I can sell this many tickets and I can make this much money off of doing a show. And I mean, I saw him here in Charlotte, so I imagine maybe a show in Houston might turn out a bigger audience. But that he has a very thoughtful set design. There's a lot of creativity that ensures that any footage, any picture anybody takes of that show will be usable towards Jadena's brand, if that makes sense. Like, I went to the BJ, the Chicago Kids show, and I walked out thinking, yo, I know he's signed to Motown, I know his team is not looking out for him the way they need to, because I think they can really curate like an image around him so that you say, all right, my shows might not be selling out, but here's a performance that I put on. Here is the energy that I bring, and here is the sonic feeling that I bring, so I can make money getting booked for gigs that aren't so reliant on ticket sale. And he has a young team and they are all on a funky ass tour bus together. I happen to sit on that said tour bus and I was like, this shit stank. It's stanky here. It was Hennessy and weed on that bus. What I tell you about niggas. And Jadena uses his shea butter. He's a very well moisturized nigga, and it still was like, oof. I don't miss this lifestyle at all. Say maybe with like a summer, you curate a more intimate vibe because obviously, you know, when you get on stage, the lights, you can't even really see the audience. And so don't put her in a situation where she has to do meet and greets, but maybe situate the stage and create a set design and put all the comforts that she likes. Like if she likes being in her bedroom, if a bitch likes taking baths, you know, if she likes candles and sage and crystals, you know, put that, like, create the environment that she wants. Don't do a stack tour. You know, do an exclusive tour, make the tickets more expensive, like just set it up and do it the way that she wants to do it. Or, you know, think about not touring at all and then taking the sacrifice on that. But the sis writes her own music. She can write music for other people. You can license out her music. You know, every time you go into a hotel and hear that music played in the lobby, technically that's supposed to be licensed out, right? You know, you have publishing and performance rights. Get their child music in some TV shows. I mean, Interscope has their publishing in-house, I want to say. And I know for a fact Interscope was one of the first labels to have a department that pitched the music to brands. One of the things that makes a R&B singer expensive is that a lot of R&B singers don't necessarily write their own music. Summer Walker writes her own music and she strings a little bit on the guitar. So, you know, the sis got real profitable talent. I think there is a way for her team to be very strategic about creating, you know, curating her as an artist. Girl, we need to do our makeup. Yeah, it's about to be a 45-minute video. I went and brought a lighter color of this Pat McGrath Skin Fetish because it is legit like my favorite. I just don't think I curled this side correctly, but I gave a lot of volume. Like there's these little pieces. I went to Sephora and I got the Pat McGrath Skin Fetish, which I've been wearing in 21, but it's the winter time and I've lost a good bit of color. So I wanted to see about getting a lighter color and I got 17, but I low-key think it might be too light. So I'm gonna try this out here. So we're gonna put 17 on and see if it gives us a cast or not. It's hard to be in an industry where most people want to be close to you because they found a way to profit from you. It's hard to be in an industry where you realize a lot of the people that are, oh yeah, especially because you're meeting other celebrities, other people, and your sphere of influence is broadening, but then you also have a moment where you realize a lot of these people are not going to stick around for you. Like if some shit hit the fan, you know, you hit a bump in the road, just the way life goes in general, it is kind of damning feeling to realize like I know all these people and like 98% of them I cannot trust. Damn, I forgot I need to get my eyebrows done. Sad. I think this is just a little, is it a little yellow? I think I might need to take it back. My lace is lifting. Yeah, I think this might be a little too yellow for me. I love this hairspray for my KS hair, my Kiki Straight hair. I originally bought it for when I had a pixie cut. That didn't last long. I also got a lighter color Fenty concealer. I really like the Pro Filter concealers. They're awesome. So I normally wear 350, so I went down to 310. I feel like now that it's setting into my skin that it actually, I don't know, guys, let me know. The things that's hard about being vulnerable at all, even if it's just a matter of you saying, hey, I deal with this about your mental health, is that people are so judgmental. And it's not even just judgmental in a negative way. Like I feel like I've definitely discussed this before, right? That people can have the best intentions for you, still say things that are very triggering, and that, you know, it's like a judgment in the ways that like we project the way we live our life or the viewpoints we have of ourselves onto other people. And everyone has different boundaries and different things that they can deal and that they can consume themselves. You know, how do you even find out or figure out what those boundaries are? A lot of us figure out our boundaries by having them crossed. And then I think there's also, particularly for the Black community, coming into the understanding that you're even allowed to have boundaries, right? And a part of setting healthy boundaries requires you to also untether yourselves from the ways in which society has informed you that you're less than. and you're not worthy. One of the fallacies around this mental health conversation currently is that we seek, the truth of the matter is that conversations about mental health are never really going to be super easy. Conversations that move us forward with our mental health and the ways in which we discuss our own personal journeys of mental health are always going to require a certain amount of labor. It's really easy to shame people because that gives us a sense of power over others. It's really easy to say, oh, you know, to talk about your mental health journey from this aspect of what you do differently from others. And again, a lot of the ways in which we communicate various things, we're constantly finding a way to value ourselves over other people. And I personally try to be mindful of, in all facets of life, not participating in seeing myself as better than others, or putting my value system of how I value myself in contrast to other people. Mental health is hard because we're always looking for like a singular answer. And you know, people have definitely the same thing with like dating and femininity and all that other stuff. But you know, there's definitely influencers who have found a way to capitalize on presenting themselves as people who have like the universal solutions for like Black women or Black people. And well, okay sis, if you say so. I'm using my little contour palette to go back in because I'm looking real like, oh girl, Michael Jackson-ish. But I'm kind of surprised that like the people on my, that are mad at my Harriet Tubman review, like I don't really get what there's to be mad at. People really want you to come in and again, antagonize folks. They want you to shame people. Yeah, I don't participate in scarcity politics. Okay, we're gonna do a real light face look because sis, it's getting, this video finna to be long, so we're just gonna put some concealer on our eyelid. Take our favorite palette, jacket, and use that ginger. Okay, I was gonna do a general powder, not gonna bake too much. I'm gonna have to hit the forehead a little bit once I lose. What do we get from being in a constant state of outrage? It's not to say that you can't ever be outraged, right? It's not to say that you can't ever be upset at something, but when we constantly, like that's what we are most prone to engage in, what's manifesting in our real lives then. Taking a little Fenty Beauty, I'm gonna have to go back up because I have this hair tie on. And I think I'm using Moscow Mule. It's a little red. Morphe and Suspect, their liquid lipstick. I kind of want a brown liner. It's a pretty color. Alright, I'm gonna mess this entire look up by putting on a lash. So, I went to Morphe, we all know this. I bought a bunch of things and I got these ridiculously big lashes. Because that's what the girls be wearing and I wanna wear some big lashes. I do think Summer did the right thing by canceling her tour. Because her team needs to re-strategize. Girl, I hope she didn't take too much of an advance from the label. Oh my gosh, this lash is like, how y'all wear these things? Like, what are we doing? I'm about to take this shit back to the store. This is uncomfortable. I don't even think I have enough makeup on for this and it's not sticking, so we're gonna take it off. We tried. Tried and failed. Man, I could tell y'all that one time when I had an artist and someone, I think she was like a director at the time at Atlantic, like doing video production. She looked at, I don't remember her name, because if I remember that shit, I would say it. But she was fucking my artist. And I didn't care, like whatever, Persian girl. Wasn't even Black. I had no care or concern in the world. You grown, y'all two consensual adults, consensually fucking, this nigga broke. But whatever, you like the trap dick, go for it, sis. But I guess she was threatened by me. We had a meeting at Atlantic and she proceeded to say, hey sis, first of all, I'm not your fucking sis. But she was like, do you want some pink lotion because your hair is dry? And I'm just like, what the fuck? I don't need to be doing this shit. Don't. Okay, this is my finished look. I think my eyelash might be a little crooked, but girl, I'm really about to wash the face off because we're gonna go to the gym, okay? Thank you for watching with me. I hope you commented along. Ooh, look, I still wanna lay this shit down a little bit more. Hold on. Wispies. Get my little wax stick in here. wax it back, baby. But thank you for joining me for this video. I hope you commented along. I would love to hear your opinions on this matter. This is a custom frontal wig, 18 to 20 inch with multi-dimension reddish blonde coloring. If you want styling, I would highly recommend the long glam look, which will get it curl. Not curled like this, because I don't know how to curl. So, you know, it'll be curled va-va-voom though. It'll be okay. Take it out. You'll have you'll have all this on both sides. You're not gonna only get it on one side because I only know to curl this way. So couldn't really hit it on this side. It's okay. It's okay. Swiss HD lace. Get on this sale. Thank you for supporting, and I'll see y'all later. Deuces.